No. Holy shit. Trump is... Like, I just don't understand. What aren't you seeing here? What's the part where you're like, nah, he's doing a great job. He's a great guy. He's cognitive. He's super smart, man. Whoa, boy, is he super smart. Have you ever seen anything that makes you think Trump is super smart? Like even with George Bush Jr., right? He was given to us as an idiot, like a bumbling fool, too stupid to actually be doing what he's doing.
Student.
Right. But you would hear things like he knew the names of everybody. He gave, everybody had a nickname and he knew everybody's nickname. There were little things where you would get glimpses of, like, he's not as dumb as he's portrayed to be. Not saying he's a Rhodes Scholar or anything. But I can't think of anything with Trump. Or even, like, it's weird too, because it's like his whole freedom cities thing. We're going to build freedom cities. We're going to start manufacturing new cities in the United States. Like, that's actually a good idea. According to the narrative we're given, back when we were building new cities all over the place somehow during the Depression and all that other shit, where we were throwing up skyscrapers in a year, all of which, according to any sort of AI, Grok, whatever, it will tell you that we couldn't do it today. We couldn't do it in the same time frame that's given, but somehow they were able to do it back then just because they didn't have the rules and regulations and red tape. And you would think without the rules, regulations, and red tape, that would mean corners were being cut, right? And those buildings wouldn't still be standing to this day. But it's funny how, all of those buildings are the ones that not only still stand, but don't need repairing. They're heated through steam boilers down in the basement. 2 big boilers. What are you talking about? That doesn't even make sense. Like, if you're... So, this house was built in the 40s?
50s.
50s. More than likely, it still has the same heating unit in it. Which in itself should blow your mind. Like, how does...
Yeah, it's got the same furnace.
How does the 50s build a heating unit that can work like it? Like, if you pay attention, our heat is just, especially days like today, these last couple days where the temperature is in the teens, the heat is just constantly kicking on. And yet it's still, it's chilly in areas of the house. You go in certain areas, like a closet or something, and it's chilly in there. If you think about how cold it actually is on the, 90 stories up, the wind is blowing like crazy, and it's colder up there. And yet, all of these skyscrapers, man, they were just, all those penthouse apartments were just nice and comfy, cozy. And it's like, because you've been so manipulated from such an early age, they'll say things like, well, heat rises. So the heat just rose from apartment to apartment to apartment to apartment. It doesn't work. Yeah, okay, yeah. But it also dissipates in other directions too. And it wouldn't just stay in the building. And if that was the case, then that penthouse would be fucking boiling, wouldn't it? But you get these narratives from the scenario that you're supposed to just accept. Oh, well, it was wartime. So, they were somehow able to do things. They had 15,000 workers working round the clock. Who's feeding all of those people? Like, do you understand the undertaking it would take? So if you say it's 15,000 workers daily, but the planning for this job, they selected the site on September 2nd and broke ground while also finished finalizing the contracts 9 days later on September 11th. Like it's really weird. Why do are you trying to tell us something? Joe's gonna get killed? Not Joe Rogan. Who gives a fuck about Joe Rogan? I don't. I'm sure his wife and his kids do, but I don't. Joe Rogan's bought and paid for. Joe Rogan seems like he could very well be Fryer. Short little guy. He's really talented. He's really smart. Some of his... and you know what? When I talk about best comedians, I leave him out and I forget to, because he's actually really, really great in the philosophical sense. But, he's clearly... You don't come out with a show called Joe Rogan Questions Everything. On camera, you say, okay, you know what? Just tell me the secrets. Look at the camera and say, NASA, just tell me the secrets. I want to know. If you tell me the secrets, then I'll say whatever you want me to say. I'll make up crazy stories about anything you want me to say. I'll talk bad about anybody you want me to talk bad about. Just tell me the story. And like it's interesting how he chooses to, oh shit. The thing is, when it comes to guys like him, he lives and dies by the, oh, come on principle, right? Oh, come on. What about all the science? Don't you think, there's too many people involved for it to be a secret? Just that kind of shit. And that's a really common, common tactic. You go with it's too big. It's too much. It's not possible for there to be, for anybody to keep secrets. It's not possible for the system to, work behind the people's back. Somebody would have come out by now and said it. Somebody would have said something. But the thing is, they will say something. People do. People do say something about it. All the time. People are always saying something about these conspiracies and blah, 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 that shit. It's not like it's some secret. But you see it in the in everything that they do is like this. Not just but everyone you're presented with, right? Everyone you're presented with, obviously they do what they're told to do. There's no... Like, do you guys remember when the Somalia story broke and that Nick Shirley guy came suddenly? And I was like, that guy, his IDF. I literally couldn't care less about the Somalia fraud story, blah, blah, blah. If you seriously fall for that shit, the Leering Center, at the Somali Leering Center, they didn't even have the sign right. Like, that is just so... it's so basic. And the thing is, so do you guys... Nah, you guys don't. But what about the list? What's the list? What's that list called? Fuck. No, there's a list. What's the list? God. Imperialism. U.S. wanted to take down 7 countries in 5 years. That's the one.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the joint staff who had used to work for me. And one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail."
Jesus
So
Christ.
I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
So I remember hearing this and thinking about Somalia and Sudan and wondering what those connections were. And of course, it's because I'm a dumbass American and I don't know world geography well enough to realize that Somalia, especially Somaliland, is strategically imperative if you want to control the Middle East, especially if your conflict is with Israel. And this whole Somaliland thing is like, it really doesn't get more obvious when, like, it's almost like they know, or at least they think, but I guess they know that they have the people, the Goyim, the average Americans, so brainwashed that they can just come out and do it nowadays. And it doesn't even require any real effort to hide it. Wow, we got 3 out of 4 up here. Where's the old lady? When Somaliland, like, think about it. Somaliland is a new country. Right? They just Somalia was a place, and as far as you and I know, somebody took a fucking crayon and drew on the map, and cut it in half and was like, all right, this part is what a piece of work this guy is, says the guy who's literally calls himself Angry Man. Right. You know me, making up things like a list of countries.
I said, is it classified? He said, yes, in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off
Syria, which is just what they're doing. I mean, sorry, getting messages. Syria is Trump took the Golan Heights. That was already part of it. The idea that the Israelis, that the friars were like, hey, we want that part right there. And Trump was like, all right, well, the U.S. formally, because I know I wasn't asked about it, we didn't vote on it or anything, but the U.S. formally recognizes that the Golan Heights is now a part of Israel, and if anybody has a problem with it, then they can answer to us for some reason. Why Donald Trump saying that this belongs to Israel makes it belong to Israel? Well, that part, you're not supposed to ask. But according to Trump, you can't just land a boat on a piece of land 500 and then 500 years later claim it's yours just because you landed a boat there. Not like America, full of the natives that have always been here, right? Like it's terrifying. Cause not only is Trump insane, but like he like smells his own shit more than he ever has, which is hard to say, hard to believe. But he this man is basically, he's committed so many crimes. It's just insane. I mean, I hate talking about the Epstein files. I really do, because I think of it as a huge distraction. And part of that distraction is not releasing the files, right? And you just think like I've said this now for a very long time. At the very least, he is extremely guilty of protecting a pedophile or perfecting pedophiles and covering for them. That's at the very, very, very least. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you offer me. If I know that you're protecting pedophiles, first of all, there's no way I'm going to assume you're not one. But secondly, there's nothing that you do that outweighs that. And maybe I'm just fucking stupid. Maybe I'm stupid that you walk up to me and say, here's $10 million. Shut the fuck up. Don't tell anybody I did this. And I'm like, no, I'm going to tell everybody. Unfortunately, that's how stupid I am, I guess. Or, maybe I'll take the 10 million and find a way to tell people. I don't know. Yes, all this crack smoking crack. So, as always, we have all of these fake profiles here who, look at this. Like, we'll go 10 years ago, 16 subscribers. 7 years ago, 26 subscribers. 2 years ago, 1 subscriber. 7 years ago, 2 subscribers. 12 years ago, 1 subscriber. That's who all of these fucking clowns are. These are all people who are like, this guy's talking about pedophiles and how, essentially we should kill them all. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I could literally be doing anything else, but I'm going to talk shit to the guy who thinks we should kill pedos. But I'm not one, I swear. It's like, obviously, these are the guys that support Trump. You know? People should be boycotting Ford left and right. Ford needs to be boycotted ASAP. Which is crazy when you think about like the origins of Ford and what Henry Ford did and all that stuff and how he used to speak out against the friars. Nobody would publish his work, so he bought a newspaper just so his work, just so his ideas, just so what he had to say could be cataloged, because nobody else would do it. And this is Henry Ford going, "Hey, I'll write articles in your paper for free." I mean, even if it's crazy, you have Henry Ford writing free articles for you. Don't you think you'd take that? Nope, nobody would. So he had to buy a newspaper, and he talked about all of it. 10 million isn't good enough. I want to know. I mean, it's like, it's not even about me knowing. It's more like, I want you to stop. I want you to be exposed so you can't hurt anyone else. I don't know. I didn't even have to have children to experience this, but especially after having children, it's like, have you ever seen your child hurt? Can you imagine somebody like violently raping them? Well, that's somebody else's child that's being done to. So what's the fucking difference? You know, again, maybe I'm just like wrong there. I know my kids are the most important thing in the world to me, but they're not more important than any other child's existence. Their existence in the big scheme of things isn't more important than anyone else's existence. So for me to sit here and say, you know, I would kill you for trying to fuck with my children, but hey, all those other kids, that's fine. That just doesn't work. You know, what's crazy too is I've sort of, because of the way things are, I've gotten almost sidetracked. I had gotten to a really, what I thought was a good place, and like I'm knocking on some doors here that I shouldn't be knocking on. And since then, shit has gone in so many directions that it's hard to stay focused. But the pedophile thing is really the biggest thing, right? The pedophile problem is the biggest problem in the world, and not just because of the damage it does to the children, but that is like a ticking time bomb. It's not even like a ticking time bomb. It's more like a consistently exploding time bomb, just firing shrapnel in every direction at all times. Because everybody that knows that person is now going to be directly affected by that shit. Right? Whether it's the parents who will experience incredible pain because of their child, you know, you feel your child's pain, but that relationship is the child is just going to be different. The person is just going to be different from here on out. In every relationship, whether it's friendship wise or even sexual relationship, they're all going to be affected by it. Their children are going to be affected by what happened to them. You know, having a wife who was assaulted means she is very protective of her children to the point where it can be extreme at some point, you know. It's the firsthand account. I've seen it in multiple cases. Really, I don't know how you could be, any bit prolific dating and not have firsthand experience with this. They say that 1 out of 3 women have been assaulted. 2 out of 3 women have been assaulted in some sort of fashion, but it's more like 2.9. And there are way more males that have been assaulted or traumatized or whatever than people realize. And think about the idea that for decades, coaches were just allowed to, go into the showers. They'd be slapping butts and shit. Think about how much that it just went completely unregulated. That if you were a fucking pervert who liked little boys, like teenage boys, what a better position than a coach.
It's disgusting.
It's fucking gross. It's horrible. And there's no fixing it. Somebody doesn't do something to a child, find a child attractive, and you go, no, that's not right. And they go, oh shit, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. I had no idea that children are off limits. But now that you tell me, if you have to be told children are off limits, there's no room for you. And I just, well, you can't play God. I'm all about that playing God when it comes to killing pedos, killing rapists. I just don't understand. Even Grok was talking about, no, we need to keep them in prison forever. Why? Why does that taxpayer have to suffer that burden? You know how much it costs to incarcerate a person over a lifetime? It costs way more money than you make in that same lifetime. I mean, it's insane. We need a wood chipper on every corner. The idea of putting someone into a wood chipper, understand the amount of PTSD and psychological damage that would do to people watching it, especially children. Personally, and I've said this before, I think we should just try to feed two birds with one seed, right? I think we should tell people, look, we acknowledge that there are fucking crazy people out there. There are people out there that like hurting other people, that get off on that shit. They don't even know why. They know it's wrong. They know, they shouldn't do it, but they have a compulsion. Like if you pop out some titties, I'm gonna look at some titties. They have a compulsion. They're the people that love watching every single Saw. I know every Saw movie. I watch every single horror movie. I love watching gory movies where people get slaughtered and killed and hurt and really. Those people exist. They're everywhere. And so if you say, hey, look, I'm one of those people. I have that in me. And we say, okay, well, as long as you don't act on those urges against someone innocent, whenever somebody violates against a child or rapist or whatever, they will be given to you. And you will be able to do whatever you want with that person. Now, that's dangerous. I get it. You have to be equipped. You have to be, able to handle that situation. But if we can give the rapists, the pedophiles, to rapists and well, they're not going to get any children, but oh well, you get a person that you can do whatever you want to. They're incapacitated in some way, and you get to do what you want to them. You can hurt them. You can operate on them. You can do whatever your sick little CS criminal minds fantasy wants to tell you. Not only does that eliminate, free up a lot of jail space, that's an incentive for those who would maybe commit a crime against an innocent person not to. Don't worry, you'll get your guinea pig. You'll get it. This is the problem that most people just don't realize, right? People don't realize. I think we need to show them to leave our young alone and teach kids. What? I think we need to show them, to leave our kids alone. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, there definitely has to be something extreme, but what you're underestimating, and maybe Maybe you've experienced some trauma in your life, but you're underestimating what seeing trauma does to people and assuming that everyone handles it the same way. I'm not somebody that ever watches, like, I don't like watching fail videos where someone gets hurt. You know, those are really, really popular. But like the sound of someone's head cracking against the pavement when they try a bike trick or a, you know, skateboard trick or something. Yeah, I don't enjoy that at all. Oh, look, he fell. And at the same time, I love watching fighting. It's broken. I get it. I get it. I'm not perfect by any measure. But I don't like watching people like boxers. They know they're going into it. They know it's this, that, you know, somebody's getting hurt, blah, blah. You're going to get hurt. Even if you win, you're going to get, they know that. When people hurt themselves and it's completely like unintentionally, like they weren't expecting, that's not great. But like, I've never seen one of the videos of the supposed videos of somebody getting their head cut off. I've never watched any of those. 2 Girls, 1 Cup. I watched, like, as soon as I realized what it was, I shut it off. And it's because I don't, maybe you're different than I am, but I remember like everything. You know, I have a really good memory. And stuff like that is the stuff that will play in my head as I'm trying to go to sleep. And I don't like having those kinds of images and whatnot in my head. So, you know, and almost, you know, the wood chipper thing is bad and it's you know, awful, and it's like a deterrent and whatnot. But you still have to account for the people that exist. And it almost seems like as humans, we don't like the fact that people are like this, so we don't want to admit the fact that people are like this. Belch. You know, you might know the she's this woman, I work with her. She's one of those kind of fat girls with the big boobs and the, you know, bright red glasses and the hairstyle, and she always smiles and takes the same picture all the time, and you know, she goes to the thrift store to buy her cool thrift clothes, you know, my wife's friends, right? Like, you know, those people, you're like, those are the nicest people, those are the sweetest, oh my God, they're the best person. But there is that part where they only like watching horror movies. They only like watching gore and shit. And you're like, wow, what a contrast. And, you know, that exists. I mean, do you know how many people you look out your window? Do you know how many people, for some reason, have made sex into like a punishment thing? Where somehow, maybe it's because they got their butts spanked every time they got in trouble. Maybe that's where that gets fostered. Spanking your child turns them into somebody who, you know, associates punishment in that way. I mean, think about it. Everybody knows that when you're doing a doggy style, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to slap that ass, right? Why? Why are we so violent? Where does that come from? I think it comes from circumcision. You know, a contributing factor is circumcision. But, you know, the rest of it is do a porn search. Just pull up any porn site, especially if it's the first time you've been there, and see what's just suggested to you, or look up the most viewed videos. And at the same time, I mean, at some point, everybody in porn was like, you know what really looks good? A completely shaved vagina, so she looks like she's really young. Matter of fact, you're not going to be allowed to be in any sort of porn unless you have a completely shaved 12-year-old vagina. We don't want to see anything that looks like a real woman. You think all of this is by accident? You think it's all because that's what we wanted, so they gave it to us? Or do you think they showed it to us enough that it made people fucking want it? I saw a post on Facebook where it said, like, seriously, thumb in your butt or spit in your mouth. And it had like 400 some comments with girls saying both. When did spitting in someone's fucking mouth become some sort of sexy something, whatever? I'll go. How's it going, man? It's fucking crazy. It's crazy. If you're a dude and you like your girl to be completely shaved, why is that? Where does that come from? It's not like vaginas are these, just beautiful little sculptures. If somebody has a sculpture of a vagina in their house, you're going to be like, ew, why would you do that? That's fucking weird. Same thing with dicks. Dicks are gross. But, I remember it happening. I was that age. Well, my VHS porn tapes went from girls with a nicely manicured hedgerow to DVDs with nothing. It was just weird. But again, I was a kid who, I lived in an apartment complex that it was one giant trash, like it's one of the biggest apartment complexes, in the area. It's huge. And it has one main trash compactor. And you pull up, you throw your bag in, it fills up, and then it compresses it and it puts it into one of those big containers. And it was that way, as a kid. We used to go dumpster diving all the time. And, you always got scared because you didn't want that thing to turn on while you were in there. But, you'd get out. I think about how many times I was in that dumpster. Yeah,
Dumpsters didn't turn on.
It was a compactor.
Oh,
yeah.
You had a compactor in your place?
It was a huge complex. They only had one trash facility, so you needed to compact that shit in there. And by the time trash day would come around each year, or each week, it would, there'd be bags all over. It definitely was never enough. But we would always it was like it would happen once a month.
That would seem like it'd be dangerous to leave that with the public.
Extremely. Especially with kids like us. But once a month, some woman would find her husband's porn collection and would throw it out. And it would be, a stack of magazines. And then we would find it.
You're like, bonus!
Oh, that's the main reason why we were dumpster diving. But then we were, my mom would tell this story about one day she just got curious and looked under my bed and started pulling out circuit boards and different parts of a car. And I told her I was building a car. That was my plan. So I had been saving up parts, all kinds of shit I had pulled out of the dumpster. But, it would always bother me because the magazines weren't Playboys. Sometimes they were, but most of the time it was like Hustler and Barely Legal and I don't even know what other fucking magazines exist. But they were Pet. I remember Pet magazine. And all of those magazines would just be like, here's a picture of a vagina. You like that? You like looking at that vagina really close up? Or the woman would be like squatted down and like it was just weird. And I remember being a kid and thinking like, not even a kid, more like a teenager, getting to that age where you're, because we would find that shit when we were like 7, 8 years old, and didn't even know what we were really looking at. Just saw boobs and we're like, boobs. But it was as you get older, you're like, man, is there something wrong with me? Like, if this is what's being shown,
Why don't I like it?
right? Why don't I like it? So, am I gay? Because I'm very attracted to the women. I don't want to see like the insides of their vaginas. That's
Too much.
It's like if I had a girl who was like, here, if my wife was like, here, pull open your pee hole and let me look in there, and I'd be like, what's wrong with you? That's fucking weird. Right? That's weird. And of course, look at all the commenters on here. You have a bunch of angry little white dudes with tiny peckers, all mad because I'm like being normal. I have no interest in what the inside of your vagina looks like. I enjoy it, for sure. But I don't care to see inside of it. No, it's just weird. It's just weird. And the pictures that you would see in these magazines, these girls would be all in these weird ass, like, bent backwards, looking all stupid. And there's Marvin, flying like he's fucking on a rocket sled. Obviously not. That's mine. Okay? Don't know where yours is. Give me my lighter. It's bought for me. It's my special lighter.
I had to pay full price for that lighter. Instead of the 5 in a pack special. Better like it.
It's so crazy, man. It's so crazy that people can be like that. and you have to think like, these are the people that, step on her head and choke the shit out of her and, all that good stuff. Where does it come from? Where does the need come from? Where does the need come from to hurt and then to be hurt? Like, why are females so programmed that they should be, that it's violence? Why is the most intimate, like, naturally beautiful thing that we do with each other, why is that turned into something so ugly and violent? And
Well, you should see how vampires have sex, man.
no,
They break furniture and shit.
I don't need to see that at all. It's strange. And like, BDSM and all that shit. Like, look out your window and all those people that smile in your face and they support Trump and America and values and all they're fucking feet. Put your feet up, baby. Let me fuck your feet. What? These are the people who have the leather outfit with the little hole for the zipper, This shit is everywhere. And what's even more so, I believe, is the pedophiles. People say there's too many people, the population's too high. If we take out all the pedos, I think we're going to take out a significant portion of the population. 20, 30%, maybe more. But hey, that'll fix things, won't it? Wouldn't that fix the problem, the population problem? you know, what I think is it's just terrible is like, so you have the you have all these pedo hunters out there, and something they're not doing, which they should be doing, but it's weird none of them do it, is to show you just how many people hit up the decoy. Yeah, it's one thing to say, the people that have so much of a compulsion that they show up. And you know what's crazy too is I'm noticing this more and more, especially with like it's one thing when it's just somebody doing it to better their community, right? To expose this piece of shit. But when you're talking about shit like Takedown with Chris Hansen, where the police are involved, so they released another partial video yesterday. And usually the partial videos will show you up until the predator shows up. And they have this female decoy that they're using, who does look young, I'll give you that. But it's
Not
like
that young though.
Well, but if you want to see it, you will. You know what I mean? Like they have these blinders on that the blinders are so on that they are, they're the biggest giveaway is what the decoy says. I've never, gone to hook up with somebody or whatever and have them be like, "Oh yeah, tell me again what you wanted to do when you got here. Give me some details about how you want to do. Like, tell me the thing that you still wanted to do that thing we talked about, right? Remember that thing we talked about? Do you remember?" Like that's it, the decoy is always so obvious that unless it's, and I don't want to say harmless, right? These people aren't harmless. And a lot of them are prolific, no doubt. But I do believe a lot of them when they say it's their first time actually doing that, because nobody would like them. These are ugly, trollish, no game. These are just weirdos who, they probably hit up 1,000 people. And this one profile started talking back and actually seemed to show affection. And there's a lot of guys who don't have any of that in their lives. They haven't had it for years. They've tried so many other ways and nobody pays attention to them because look at them. And yet somehow this cute little 14-year-old, 15-year-old girl, 13-year-old girl likes you. Like what in your fucked up mind would ever make you think that's a thing? Does anybody like you in real life? Do women like you? Are you beating them off with a stick? No? Do you have all these other women in the comments that are interested in you, that fall for your game? No? Just this one girl who is then asking you to repeat over and over again, what is it that you wanted to do with me? Like when you look at what Gordon does a really good job. But even then, it's like they're only going to catch the lowest hanging fruit. If you're some sort of trafficker or whatever, as soon as somebody gives you a little sort of hint, why would you risk it? You got your big business, there's going to be another, this person's like, "Oh yeah, tell me exactly what you wanted to do again." Like they're not going to catch any bigwigs with any sort of brand. And that's what I think is almost like a disservice, because they're catching people with kindness, with affection. Half the time they're definitely are catching some real predators out there for sure. But a lot of the time, like the old man, the 72-year-old man, there's never going to be a real world situation where a teenage girl is going to entertain that man's advances. It's never going to happen. And yes, he should absolutely be arrested, all of that shit, no doubt. But like, especially with the decoy was so fucking obvious. I just don't think they're going to catch anybody that really matters. And the reality is, when was the last time you heard about a Chris Hansen or any of those other guys catching somebody that was like a major trafficker?
Why didn't they catch Epstein? All those years.
Well, because it wasn't big yet. This is something
Chris
that
Hansen was a dicker, wasn't he?
even so, like even TCAP. So the government shut down TCAP, right? So they weren't even allowed to. But you know, Epstein was first jailed in 2009, and then it was 2016 when, you know, shit really started coming out, and then he got arrested. But there was like, he was so high profile. But even still, Epstein was a pro. That's why. You know, they're never going to catch an Epstein because Epstein's not the type that's going to desperately fall for, you know, some girl who, like, how many times do you see the person get caught and they're totally shocked? I can't believe I totally fell for this. Never. They're always like, damn it, I knew that what this was. I knew this was going to be one of those. They know it every time. And it's not just because they were doing something bad, because there were so many giveaways that they should have seen. But because they have their blinders on, you know.
Because they want that little kid so fucking bad.
I don't even think it's that. I mean, I think, okay, so I think, again, maybe half the time it is because they want that little kid so bad. The other half of the time is because they just don't have anything else. Nobody has shown them any sort of love and affection for a long time. And, you know, not only are we designed to do that as humans, watch anything on TV. You know, watch the show about the firemen. And what do you see? Beautiful people fucking bra and panties and shit. You know, softcore porn. Shit that 20 years ago would have never been on TV. You know, everything is all about sex. And men in particular, we've been raised to think that busting a nut is the most important thing we can do in our lives. You know, it's been made so important that men commit crime to do it. It's like they, you know, people think that like busting a nut, you bust a nut and then you go check your bank account and you have $1 million. That's how people act. And it really isn't that important. For me, the best part of sex has always been about watching them. Because my part's like 15 seconds and, you know, oh shit, oh, here we go, oh no, oh, goodness gracious me, oh my, oh wow, oh, okay, all right, woo, okay, all right, good night. Like, it's one of those things that, especially like when you're young and single and you've been taught that the notches in the belt, you know, notches in the bedpost are who you are, like that's your measure as a man. And so you have the booty call or whatever it is, and the girl comes over and you finish up and you're like, all right, you can leave. Because it's just like, and you sit there and you think like, yeah, okay, I think that was cool. I sure hope she doesn't get pregnant. I sure hope she doesn't have some lifelong shit I'm stuck with. You know? Like it's really not, it's crazy because like it just shows you how fucked up it is. Because if I could experience what females experience, I would absolutely do that shit all the time. That shit would be worth it. You know, whoa, the rolling ones where they just keep going and going. Whoa, that shit's awesome. But, so many don't get to experience that. So it's such a weird thing. Like, the chances of you doing that to them because you've been raised to be a typical guy who thinks bang, 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 bang is what you're supposed to do, it's not even worth it. She's just going to have some mess to clean up. Ugh. And it's all conspiracy. As cliche as that may sound, it is. It's all by design. We've been manipulated into thinking these ways. I couldn't have been the only guy who, like, struggled with that. Like, am I not a man enough because I don't think a chick on a bathing suit standing next to an old car is the type of calendar I want up in my house? Like, something wrong with me? Because I actually respect them and I care about what they think and what they feel and, all that shit. Like, I'm not supposed to do that. I tell this story a lot, but when my wife and I first got together, we had this big dinner with my family, with my dad and stepmom and her mom and stepdad and godparents were there, and it was like
Leo was there.
It was like an introduction. No, they weren't.
Yeah, Allie and Justin came, and
No, they didn't.
yeah, they did. Yep, I have pictures of Allie with Archie under the coffee table from that.
I disagree, but whatever. She knows better. But we had gotten done eating. My wife made a big pot roast, and everybody was sat at the table. It was great. We got done eating, and I get up and I'm starting to clear the table to bring the dishes to the kitchen, and her stepdad, who's basically her dad, and her godfather, who is like this, he's as much of a stereotype as like a friar in a goofy penguin suit, right? Like, I mean, I just, like, if you were going to be like, let me design a Greek stereotype, it would be him, down to the pinky nails and everything. Like, and he's awesome. I'm like, not at all. Like, he's stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason, There's a lot of truth behind them. And he is old school Greek guy. Though he married a woman who's not Greek, though you'd think she is.
Oh, she adapted very well for him.
But, like, I'm going and I'm getting the plates, and they're like, what are you doing? What do you mean? Clearing the table. That's woman's work. Sit down. And I just laughed at him, and I was like, no, I'm good. And I continued clearing the table, but, like, I just never... I don't think of, like, in my house, I don't think of the cleaning up animal puke as woman's work. I think of it as, do you want to clean up my puke too? Because I'm really going to have a hard time with it. And you're the one that likes those animals. If it was up to me, we'd get rid of them. So you get to clean up the puke. Just like if there's a bang in the night and you get scared, I'm never going to be like, all right, we'll go check that shit out. I'm the one that has to get up like I'm fucking bulletproof and go check that shit out. I love this shit. I know that I can have missed just about every comment on here, and I'm not missing anything. Nobody's actually going to say something that matters. Go vegan if you're a real animal lover and protector. We are here to help the world a better place and not just starve ourselves. Or not just serve ourselves. Sure. So I think it's 20, 30%. I think it's higher than that, actually. I think if you were to ask me for my phone and you were going to do a deep dive on it, whatever, and search the back file drives and any that, I'd be like, here, I don't care. Like, you know, you're going to find porn. I'm an adult male. I've watched my share of porn. But I know you'll never find anything. I'm not worried about it. I don't have any fears whatsoever of somebody discovering something that they shouldn't. Now, my wife, that's a different story.
Ha.
But I guarantee most of you aren't that way. Do you know that in my house, neither one of us have any sort of like passcodes or anything like that on our phones? They just sit there, and the other person at any point could grab the phone and use it.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Don't
See that? You can't see that.
Right.
I did that one time, and it was because I had just texted Alex about your Christmas gift, and I was like, man, he's gonna catch this. He's gonna say something. But it was about your Christmas gift. I knew she was gonna respond, and I didn't want you to see it. It wasn't this year. It was last year. It's pretty funny though.
Of course, it wasn't this year.
No, it wasn't. Well, no, actually, she did once, and I was hoping that you would.
Nobody cares. It doesn't matter. The point being, there's nothing hidden. You know, there's nothing. Right? Like I know I could trust my wife with anything. I know that I could trust her with anyone. Like there's just nothing, there's no bad person there. But I guarantee it's not that way up and down the street. I guarantee you go look at my neighbor's fucking, ask him to see his computer and he's gonna go, no. You know? I think that's what I was saying earlier, is they do a disservice by not showing people just how many people hit up the profile. Because the profile, you know, the person that shows up is the person with the most compulsion, and or, you know, they're really dumb or whatever it is. There's a few different reasons, but most people are smart enough not to put themselves in such an obviously dangerous situation. And if it really was all about just getting a nut, you know, you're not going to drive 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours. You know, you're not going to, you can find a fucking Backpage girl that's much closer for much cheaper. And you'll see it too a lot of the times. Like, I think it's great when they discuss some sort of exchange of money, because it adds the prostitution, you know, what is it? It's not just prostitution. It's when it's kids involved, I can't think, I'm farting right now, but like it adds all these extra charges. It's great. And I literally feel no sympathy for them whatsoever. I feel sorry for their wives, kids, family members, and whatnot. But at the same time, I just find it so hard to believe that you can be in that world and any bit prolific, and everybody's shocked when they find out. You know, I don't know. I think there are a lot more giveaways. There are a lot of people out there that you know, and you're like, hey, he's just kind of creepy. I don't know. You don't know what it is, but he just rubs you the wrong way, just kind of creepy, whatever. Maybe that's what it is. Well, like I said, you know, for every catch, every person that's actually caught by one of these groups, that decoy is hit up hundreds of times.
What?
Thousands of times in some cases.
Gross.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? And, you know, there are people that are like, oh shit, if when they tell the age, oh shit, you're too young, and they get off. But, you know, the picture shows a very young looking girl. So
A very
chances
mature
are
young-looking girl, though. However,
sometimes
she's
it's,
young, but she's willing to do all that.
with a picture you know you can't really, but sometimes, you know, sometimes I guess it, I don't know. I think a lot of those times, if the girl said she was 16 or 17, those people that hang up wouldn't hang up. And the fact that our laws are so like black and white like that, like she could be 15 tomorrow, but if you're caught, you're in trouble. But if she's, you know, if she's 16 today and you do it, then it's okay. I literally know people where a 32-year-old man groomed and cultivated a 15-year-old girl who was going through
Just being raped by her boyfriend.
right, and just a whole bunch of shit. Needless to say, like
Her ex-boyfriend.
way more shit than you can even imagine. Almost getting kidnapped. You know, there was a lot of shit going on, and this girl was beautiful, so she experienced shit that you can't, that most people would never experience, because she was the type of girl that with the right situation she probably could have been a supermodel. She was tall, she had a great body, you know, she had the look, you know, but she grew up in trash. And they allowed, because he was the older brother of her older sister's, at the time, boyfriend and then baby daddy. And those two were the same age. But his 32-year-old brother honed in on this girl who wasn't leaving the house. She had shut down, and she was staying up in
Her room.
you know, basically a room like this. And it started off by him just bringing her coffees every day, every morning when he would come to pick up her brother or some shit for work. Oh, her dad. Yeah, because her dad worked with him. That's what it was. He'd come to pick up the dad. He'd bring an extra coffee for her, and he'd go up and he'd smoke pot with her, and he'd
leave her pot.
And he'd bring her coffee and cigarettes and all that. You know, helping her get through it. And literally the day she turned 16, they announced that they were together. And everybody knew they were together prior to that, but, you know, couldn't prove anything. Well, outsiders couldn't. I'm sure insiders could if they tried. But on her 16th birthday, they announced that they were together, and they've been together since. And it's been a nightmare. A fucking nightmare. And you just, like, especially once, you know, she aged out. Once she got to be, you know, 26, 27, 30, guess who didn't have as much interest anymore?
Not 30 yet.
Oh, well, whatever. You know, that was, I know that whole situation. And what can you do?
You know, and her parents, yes, they were there, but they also suddenly saw their teenager who would refuse to come out of the room even to eat, was suddenly leaving the house, going out to going to parties.
There's no excuse for it. There's no excuse.
So they were justifying it in their head that he was really helping her get over all the trauma she had just
Well,
been through.
and, you know, because of that, they were overlooking the obvious. Why would any grown man ever spend time with a 15-year-old girl?
Her dad used to say that all the time. He used to call him the pedophile.
Right.
Her dad hated it. But he knew the more he pushed, the more she'd run to him.
She couldn't. No. Because that could have easily been stopped. No, you never come to my fucking house again. Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Right.
But he was also his ride to his job.
Right. That's what He could have found another ride.
I know.
There could have been a lot more done.
There could have been.
And some would say, oh, look, but they're still together, right? Oh, but they're still... It's been nothing but tumultuous.
She's stuck. She has nowhere else to go. Home.
She's really dumb.
And now she has a baby by him.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And it's you know, it's just creating the next generation of nightmares. The whole thing. But it comes down to us being in a society where
It was okay the day she turned 16 to be like, hey, I'm fucking this girl. Oh, really? Were you fucking her yesterday? Because that was illegal. That's what you were, that was your subject. And that's just 16 in a week. We can have sex in a week. What?
yeah, it's crazy. Crazy. But that's what I mean. Like, so the pedophile hunters, they show you that, you know, these guys are, you know, Dap. There's one of the time I've seen a video where Monday's being interviewed, and he's like, look, I don't have any sort of plan. Just sort of pick the map up, point to a place. We go to the place, we set up the profile, and within an hour or so, we've got our first catch lined up. And it just, you know, within a 24-hour period, they're catching 4 and 5 guys sometimes. And you just think, like, if that's possible, pretending like the police can't do something similar is insane. There is no entrapment. There's nothing that's entrapment about it. It's the ad could say, hey, look it, we're 2 of the hottest 14-year-old girls you've ever seen, and we're having a BJ contest, and we need a judge. We're willing to give gas money. Come check it out. If you show up to that, that's it. That's it.
So entrapment is really a tricky one, because technically entrapment is for when they get you to do something you normally wouldn't do. If they have to coerce you into doing
Right.
it and then bust you for doing
Yeah,
it.
coerce you is a
It's
bigger.
yeah, it's not because they set up a trap and you fell into it.
Right.
That's your own motherfucking fault.
And they're like, that's just it. There's no reason for any man, you know, you're not related to this teenager. You have no business talking to that teenager.
Right.
There's nothing that you guys, you know, have in common, or, you know, like other than, hey, are you, you know, selling this Pokemon thing, or like, once the transaction's over with, then it's done. You have no business talking to, oh, hey, I was talking to the kid and we sort of hit it off, and, you know, we just talk because we both, no. You have no business, like I have kids and I love them, but, you know, if they weren't mine, I would find them exasperating at times.
I do find them exasperating, and they are ours.
Right. I would
them, but yes,
you know,
kids are a pain in the butt. They're not easy.
if they were your kids, I'd be like, hey, I had my fill. I'll be back in
2 days,
yeah, maybe. We'll see. Like it there's just no, I don't know. I just don't, you know, I don't understand that. You know? I just don't understand that, oh, I just want to be friends with a teenager. A really impressionable, you know, really easily influenceable teenager. Who does that? even like, that situation. That girl could have been, I think she could have been a model. Supermodel. Model for sure. If you think supermodel or what that, who knows? But, again, just the on paper, beautiful redhead girl with, tall and, doesn't look like she's on heroin, kind of, she could have, with the right people around her, really done great things for herself. She could have, she definitely wasn't going to be a scientist in any way, shape, or form. So if the people around her would have supported her and pushed her a little bit harder and not let her get away with so much at a young age. She was assaulted by her boyfriend because she was allowed to have a fucking boyfriend in her room, spend the night and shit.
Yeah.
She was allowed to get drunk and fucked up all the time.
And again, it was justified. Well, he's helping her get over the kidnapping.
Well, and the boyfriend was the son of mom's best friend at the time. And
yeah.
The whole thing was just a nightmare. But it's like, as much as I wish I could have done to help her get to where she could have been, did I want to spend time with her? No. God, no. Especially in some sort of dating circumstance. Like, oh my God, we'll talk about toxic. Get drunk and start crying and, just awful. Just an awful situation of dysfunction. And to find dysfunction attractive, you must be really, really dysfunctional. And I think that's such a big thing in our society is people not recognizing or dealing with their dysfunction properly. But again, that's sort of a different thing because we are talking about the pedophile thing. So, like I say, I think the pedophile situation is the biggest thing because that creates the controllable situation. There's a reason why the people committing genocide right now and then benefiting from said genocide without any sort of moral, hiccups or anything like that. Like, you have to ask yourself, like, what creates an entire population of people that are so callous and careless and compassionless and, just mean, nasty, ugly, supremacist people. This isn't even like, we're not talking about the days where the king controlled all of the information and, you lived in a very small world. You didn't travel, you didn't, you weren't connected to everybody all over the world where you could see things firsthand, well, secondhand, but you could see it for yourself and you could research things beyond what you were told to think. Like, that's, the previous generations, you could see it a little more, but today's generation that has access to all of the scrutiny and all of the truth, proving just how awful your people are. How do you get people to still willingly partake in that supremacy that literally puts them like in danger? Their supremacy and their behavior is why they're so hated. Nobody likes to talk about the why, but that is the why. Why are they hated? Because of their supremacy, because of their practices. And you ask yourself again, it's not a secret. If I know about it, if Grok will tell you about it, it's not like it's some secret conspiracy. It's all right there in front of you. All you have to do is look up metzitzia. All you have to do is look up the Bottom of Darkness Israel Hayom article, and it'll tell you everything. It's not a secret. But you ask yourself, how does such an obviously evil population maintain its control? How did the, it's weird because again, it's like there are multiple levels of servants. There are the low-level servants, us, who believe in the bullshit that they give us, and don't even hide the truth. The Bible is a Jewish fairy tale. All the characters are Jewish. All the stories are Jewish. Jesus is it's all, there's no hiding it. They don't even attempt to. And the Christians are full of guilt. Christians are told that the main component of their belief structure is that they were so awful, that we are inherently so awful, that God, the God of the universe, had to impregnate a virgin and then kill off his own kid using those same people, those same chosen people, to die for our sins. Somebody had to lose a kid for you. Your existence is because somebody lost their son. How does that make you feel? Christians are controlled through guilt, stupidity, but guilt. That's not how their system works. Their system works through a ruse of superiority, which you look and you go, what is superior about you people? Nothing. You're definitely not smarter. I know they like to portray themselves as smarter, but it's just because of the way that things are set up. They go to specialized schools to train them to be doctors, whereas we go to school to learn about George Washington. That's why they go to separate schools. They go to separate schools so from an early age, their education, their training is in how to be doctors and lawyers and power positions, governments and all that. While your kids are learning how to color, having art class, having pep rallies and music class and all these things that, they're kids and they should be having fun and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, for sure. They know that if you work hard for those first 20, you play for the rest. Whereas if you play for the first 20, you work for the rest. And so they have their kids working hard. They go to special Hebrew school. What do you think they learn in Hebrew school? You think it's all just haka? No. How to be a doctor, how to be a lawyer, how to get into this school. It's very specialized. But it's not because they're smarter. Just, better organized, more unified. Obviously, they're not smarter because when you look up the history of things, of invention, of innovation, there might be some things where they're credited with it, but that's usually on the backs of a bunch of Goyim who go uncredited. But they're not usually the ones creating anything. They steal. They take credit. But they're not, they're not creative. They're not super intelligent. They're definitely not the best looking. They're not physically superior in literally anything. It's just organization. It's behind the scenes. It's conspiracy. That's where they're supreme and is in conspiracy. But you Christians, you've been taught to think that, the bad guys in the Bible, the people that kill your Jesus, that kill your God's only begotten Son, that those are your God's chosen favorite people. Do you know how stupid you have to be to believe that shit? Like, seriously. The level of stupid is... It's really unparalleled because none of the other belief structures do that. Nobody else is like, yeah, we believe in a system where somebody else is better than us. Seriously, think about that shit. Muslims think Muslims are the best. Mormons and, well, no, not Mormons, my bad, because Mormons are just Christians, but, I don't know all the other religions. Scientologists think Scientology is the best. There are all sorts of other religions that I know nothing about. That's what pudding's about, actually. All sorts of shit like that. But none of those things are like, yeah, this other group, the actual bad guys in our story, those are the best guys. Do you know how crazy that shit is? Imagine your insert sports team, and every time anyone from said sports team is like, hey, what's your plan? They were like, well, we're going to let the Patriots win. If your favorite sports team is the Patriots. If your favorite sports team is the Patriots, then put somebody else in there, dumbass. We're going to let the Patriots win because we just love the Patriots. You'd be furious. Do you know the uproar that would get caused if sports teams did that? People would be so upset. Yet their beliefs, their religious beliefs, do the same thing. And they're like, nah, let me go give it some money. I know God always needs money. It's fucking crazy, man. It's just crazy. It's crazy. And you believe it because that's what you're forced into believing. There are very, very few people who grow up in atheistic households who then become Christians. Most of your born-agains were Christians who, decided to party and live life for a little while and then felt guilty, so they call themselves born again. Or they got arrested or some shit, so they're born again. Speaking of born again, you guys know that's what Renee means, right? Renee means born again. Reborn, born again. Reborn, born again, good. I mean, that is so just coincidental, I guess. Right? It's just a coincidence that it worked out that way. Like, to me, my system that I live in has not earned that level of acceptance where I go, okay, you tell me and I believe it. The system I'm in has earned scrutiny. And if right off the bat, the initial characters require like, okay, that's kind of weird, I'm going to question everything. I'm going to question everything. I've been born again 238 times, holding the world record of dying and being brought back to life under the U.S. military water board. That's disturbing. You are a genius. So are you. You know, some of the most obvious shit you can find as far as the argument religious wise is my feed. The other day I had somebody on here that identified himself as Saint Andrew Pierre, I think. Called himself Saint Andrew something. I'd have to go back and look. But he identified himself as a saint, as a priest, and he sort of took that role for like 2 hours on here. Now, whether it's a troll or not, who knows? That would be a really, really, you know, it'd be hard to fake it since his profile was 12 years old and, you know, however, 6 subscribers or some shit. But then again, that's what Israel does all the time. So who knows? Usually they're a lot lazier. They just do the no profile picture and 1 or 2 subscribers, 12, 13 years, something like that. But even having that guy on here, you don't ever see any of these people who identify as good old Christians or Jews or Muslims or anything engage in civil, simple conversation. They use the excuse that they're mad at what I'm saying. Not that I'm wrong, just that I'm saying it. And because they're mad at what I'm saying, then they get to be douchebags. And they don't have to actually engage in anything or be the Christians that they're supposed to be. They don't teach, they don't share, they don't spread wisdom, they fight. And they fight like little crybabies. It's really, really strange. And they fight very ignorant. They're very, very ignorant. Most Christians don't know shit. You ask Christians, what's the first thing their God did after it turned on the light? And they're like, what do you mean? Fuck that. How do you feel when Trump was presented a Nobel Peace Prize yesterday? I couldn't care less. Like, prizes and medals and all that shit, it's all just stupid. It's all fake pomp and circumstance that doesn't matter. It's all corruption and, if Trump wins a peace prize, this dude just invaded a country. Like, what are you talking about? He's talking about invading another country, sovereign countries that have nothing to do with us, that Netanyahu seems to really want. And Netanyahu said he was getting the peace prize, and it's like when the the Oscars or the Golden Globes or something like that, and you're like, oh, so actors are going to a huge party where they have $30,000, $50,000 free gift bags sitting on their seats, and they get fake awards. Oh, you did the best in this. Oh, you did. We liked you. And it's all controlled by fucking friars. Start to finish, top to bottom. It's all just fake bullshit. The first Oscars ceremony is literally about them wanting to give themselves prizes. Christians are some of the nicest people I've met. Yeah, sure they are. Yeah, until you say I don't believe the same thing you do. I don't think like you think. As soon as you say I don't think like you think, they're like, "Wow, let me attack you. You're horrible. Stop pointing out the stuff that stop pointing out the contradictions in our belief structure. Stop pointing out the pedophilia. You're disrespecting me by pointing out the pedophilia." It's so fucked up. Gotta love those Christian Catholics writing God Bless America on bombs that they use to drop on the Middle East, on civilians. That's so beautiful. Boy. Trump is such a piece of shit. He's such a piece of shit. And like I said, people need to be boycotting Ford over this. Because the guy that yelled pedophile protector, he got let go unpaid. He made a lot of money off of the GoFundMe that was established because of it. But in the long run, if he loses his Ford job along with all the pension and shit that he's built up, he's going to lose money. In a town in Oklahoma, a population of 900 people, and there are 15 churches and one bank, the 501c3 is the greatest law ever invented. I mean, it's all just bullshit. Like, really. All of it. Like, people just don't understand. Like, this is the part that makes everything so difficult, is people's arrogance. It really always comes down to arrogance. Whether it's your religious affiliation, like, all religious affiliation is associated with arrogance. You can sit here and pretend like you're the most, non-arrogant person in the world. You're arrogant. Because you're saying stuff I don't like, so you're the arrogant one. If I ask you, why do you believe in Christianity? And why do you think Christianity is the truth and Islam isn't, and Scientology isn't, and, Hindu and Buddhists and, whatever denomination of Christian you are, say you're Lutheran. Well, why isn't a Mormon, and why isn't a, Catholic? All of it. You're not going to sit there and systematically go, okay, well, Islam isn't real because of this. Scientology isn't. I've looked into all of these. Okay, I've looked into everything. And I could debunk it, no problem. As soon as I got to Lutheran, I tried my best, but I just couldn't debunk anything. It all just made so much sense. There's not a person alive that can say that. Not a fucking person alive. Bro, we have 30 churches in my town. None of them pay taxes on the land, materials, or labor to build them. Right. And, the pastors and shit get pulled over, drunk driving or driving on a suspended or without, with registration that hasn't been paid in years. And the cops escort them home. It's so much more than just that. It's like the Israel thing, right? So many people talk about how ridiculous it is that we give Israel $3.8 billion a year, because it is. And that's a cash payment in the first fiscal month of every year. No oversight, no restrictions. We just give them the money and say, be good. But what people don't understand is that's just the base sum. If they ask for more money, they get more money. That doesn't include all the weaponry and all the other military shit. Because it's designated as military aid. That's what they call it. But it's cash. They can spend it wherever the fuck they want. But that doesn't include all of the trips. The Netanyahu comes here 5 times last year alone. 5 times he comes here. And his motorcade is bigger than Trump's. That doesn't include the Abraham Accords, in which every single country that signed those Abraham Accords has some sort of yearly benefit that comes to them. So we have to pay for that too. The amount of actual money, energy, time, all that, it's incalculable. Nobody knows it. But it's way, way, way more than you think. And that $3.8 billion a year that we've given them for the last 10 years, it's definitely going to go up. I'm not sure what the new memorandum of understanding actually guarantees. I'm not sure if it's going to be 20 years this time or not. I don't know if they've passed all that through and how that all worked out. They're real hush-hush about it. But that $3.8 billion works out to about 15 billion shekels in their money. Once it goes from American money to Israeli money, it instantly becomes 4 times as much. And you could say, "Oh, well, they charge a lot more for stuff." Yeah, it doesn't balance out. That's just what the US gives them. Canada gives them like $2 billion. Australia gives them $1.2 billion. I don't know all the countries that actually give Israel money every year, but a lot of them do. Most of them do. He says, pray at your home. Use that money to help the community, not your pastor. Use the money to help yourself. Unless you're like really living well, then yes, you help the community. Once you get to that point where you're really on top of things and you have more money than you can actually, you need, then maybe start helping. But don't feel obligated to help the community when you're destitute, when you're struggling. The only way you really help anyone is if you're at your best. Yeah. Really, how do you know that are you the treasure? Do you honestly write the check out and give it to him, or do you have a hand in it somewhat, but you make sure they get that money? Why don't people understand that punctuation really helps?
Ever feel an ashtray under your ass?
Because it's huge. I'm sure. But think about all the things that you sit in and you don't realize it. I can't tell you how many times I've found like not just a Lego, but like an entire like Lego set. Like she was walking away like, what the hell? And I'm like, babe, come here. And I pull it out and I'm like,
already built.
Look at this shit. This was stuck in your ass. Can you believe that shit? She was like, oh, I thought I felt something. Yeah, it's huge. She's huge. The whole thing is just fucking insane. The whole thing is insane. You have so many weird narratives that are sort of crossing each other, and they help explain different things, but they all end up being distractions because at the end of the day, look, they're in Kego Harbor. At the end of the day, no matter what the conspiracy you focus on, whether it's chemtrails, whether it's vaccines, or it's Tartaria, or it's the Earth shape, or it's the Palestinian genocide, or any of the things. If you cut through all the bullshit and you look at who's in charge of any of these things, it always points to the same people. The same pedophilic, psychopathic group. And so, this monster has its tentacles in everything. And what most of you are trying to do is cut off a tentacle. When the thing is, cutting off tentacles, a lot of the times, makes 2 tentacles grow back. So instead of trying to cut off each individual tentacle, which would take forever and wouldn't work, we have to cut the head off the monster. And the only way that... Can you stop doing that? The only way that we can actually fix any of these problems is by fixing all of the problems. I like to call it true selfishness, right? Because the reality is, what motivates me the most is wanting my wife, myself, my kids to live the happiest, healthiest, safest lives we can possibly live. And the only way that could ever truly happen is if everyone else is living the happiest, healthiest, safest lives they can live. You know, as long as there are people out there struggling, being assaulted, being, living in squalor, destitute, whatever, there's always a chance. There's always a chance that something can happen to you and yours. Oh, you're absolutely right. I am going to win the election in 2028. I've been running this whole time. You guys just didn't know. Well, some of you knew. But I'm running for president in 2028. And you guys should help with my campaign. Because, I like to say that, my first order of business, like I'm so excited to get into that position that I don't actually know which would go first and which one I would want on my docket, on my historical record of what was the first thing Guy Williams did as president. And I want to say it's making anything that has to do with pedophilia, any sort of, you get caught, anything like that, that's a death sentence for you. And so that is that number one. Like, could I sign two things at once? Because really, I would say the friar cult is now illegal in the United States. You are no longer allowed to be a friar cult member and be in the United States. We will pay for the last thing that we will pay for. Live in Israel. You go live amongst your people in your special little place. We are going to go get the Palestinians and provide them with free everything. They'll come here for free, and their lives will be free because of what we've done to them in the last 80 years. But especially what we've done to them in the last fucking 3 years now. They get to come here and live for free until they die. The generation that comes here, right? If you were alive and you came here, it goes. We're not going to give you lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. I don't know, certain group of survivors of a certain group of a certain fake narrative who get to pass on their severance, their paycheck. But they get to come here until let's just say, I don't think without the United States threat looming behind everything they do, that Israel would last too long. So if Israel ever opens back up, Palestine ever opens back up, you will have the first class tickets there, and you will be allowed to rebuild, and we'll help with all of it. We're going to help with all of it. If we could help destroy it all, we can help build it all. And cult members don't have to leave. You could say, I am no longer a cult member. I no longer believe in that shit. And you will be monitored because we're... But if you prove to be a good non-cult member, you can absolutely stay. If you believe that this world, this is for all of us, and everyone is equal, and it's based on your merits, not your stupid belief structures, then you are more than welcome to stay and help make the world a better place. But if you want to continue to practice or protect those who practice metzitzia, nope. Sorry. The Torah isn't that bad as long as the Zohar isn't added to it. Yeah, well, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about any of it. It's all awful. If you walk around saying that you are the chosen people and that you demand Semitism, which is, by definition, policy or predisposition favorable to Jews, that we don't have any time for that here. This is truly the land of equality. So nobody is some chosen by God bullshit. And of course, we are going to audit the fuck out of every church. We are going to, delve deep. We're going to expose it all. But it starts with eliminating the friar control. And that would be number one, I think. We will be going backwards in the historical record, and anybody who has any sort of provable, real, not like you were, 16, 17 and your girlfriend was 15, turning whatever, and, nothing like that. But anytime we start crossing into what we can all agree is unacceptable, you get a trial by a jury of your peers. And if a jury of your peers deems that your age was inappropriate, that they wouldn't want you doing what you did to their children, well, then guess what? Wood chipper. Well, actually, we could institute my pedo policy. And shit, if I'm wrong, guess what? Everything can be fixed. If I'm wrong and the world doesn't become a better place, the United States especially doesn't become a better place, but the world doesn't become a better place, then guess what? I'm only allowed to be there for 4 years. So you just get rid of me after 4 years. The amount of change that I would institute, the amount of jobs that I would create, all the technology that's been, bought up and then put on the shelf, it's all coming out. Water-powered cars, solar road technology, geothermal power, all of that shit. Fuck that. The people deserve so much better than what we have. With the actual end goal being that no one has to work. There'll be plenty of people that like working and want to work. But for those that don't want to, who cares? We're eventually going to get to that point where we have machines doing the vast majority of the shit work, freeing up humans to be better. Yes, there will be a lot of people who are shit. Who cares? If it means we can free up a lot of the great minds who are burdened and bogged down by life itself, and those people end up doing shit like curing cancers and inventing the collapsible light bulb and shit like that. I say collapsible light bulb because I knew a guy who had that invention. But because of the money situation, he didn't want anybody else to have his idea, so he hid it. And who knows, he could be dead. That idea could have died with him. There are real fucking changes that could be made. Water-powered cars. Very much a thing. Very much a thing. Grok broke the other day talking about how fake jet planes are and shit like that. And the whole jet fuel conspiracy. And all this shit needs to be exposed. Fuck these chosen barons who run the show. I couldn't care less. Tax credits and all that. Fuck that. If we got to pay it, you got to pay it. Sorry, it's a lot of money, but that's the system, right? I'd institute something I'd call the Billionaires Fund. and I would ask every billionaire out there to donate $100 million. Donate $100 million to the Billionaires Fund. Let's see. How many billionaires are there? Let's see. How many billionaires are there? In the United States. The United States has over 900 billionaires, with recent estimates placing the number around 902 to 924. So, if 900 people times 100 million equals $1, 2, 3, $90 billion. $90 billion. You have $90 billion that you can now equally distribute. Let's see. Divided by, we'll say 8 billion. 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That would be $11.25 per person. Now, if you took that's just in let's go 9 90 divided by 330 272. Like, if you took out all the people in the United States that made less than $100,000 a year, and you distributed that $90 billion amongst them, do you know how much better our economy would be? Do you know how much better life would be for everyone? And how many like millionaires and whatnot that would create by having that startup capital to be able to push? Yes, there are plenty of people who would blow that shit. And even if they blew that shit, if they spent it all right away, guess whose hands that would go back into? The same people. But this is all bullshit, you know. This is all hypothetical, goofy. Have anything other than a feed that gets 6 viewers and 8 likes while having 100 subscribers. By the way, if you're watching, like, share, and sub. That really helps out, from what they say. Yeah, that's saying that they would ever let that happen. But they would never let anything even close to that happen. They would never let me get the platform to campaign on. Because what would happen if I said, fuck yeah, we're going to get rid of this fucking friar menace in this country? And the people all were like, hell yeah, finally somebody is saying it. What do you think they would do? Obviously, they'd kill me, but you know what I mean? Outside of that, how do you think they would respond? I guarantee if I was given the platform to respond and I wasn't like, oh, I hate them because they killed my Jesus. Well, of course. That's fucking stupid. Right? That's a fucking stupid ass thing to say. That would be a stupid reason to kill anybody or to remove anybody or anything like that. It has nothing to do with your stupid ass religious beliefs. Well, with my stupid ass religion. That's what I should say. What's up, dude?
I didn't have school.
Your brother did?
I know.
It's fucking crazy.
Hey, I'm in Dearborn. I'm in a different place.
Come here.
Hello, everybody.
What's up, dude? You got food. You got your vitamins, and take your vitamins and shit. So guess what today means? Guess what you get to do today?
Clean the bathroom.
Absolutely.
Kill yourself, pedophile.
Kill yourself, pedophiles, he says. What a horrible father I must be to raise my child to say such horrible things. How dare someone say these horrible things? Don't let him outside. It's too cold. He doesn't need to go. Was he bugging you? No, he was laying down. So why are you letting him out?
Looks like he wants to go.
Does he? Because he was laying down. He wasn't begging.
I'll let him out. Look.
He doesn't want to go. He thought you wanted to go.
Really?
You dumb kid. Yes, he thinks you want to go. That's why he's following you.
What? He's walking along.
Yep. You better be on that shit. It's too cold for him out there. Oh. It's so funny how people can't actually make any reasonable arguments. So they're like, he's smoking, he's smoking. I get it, man. It's got to be weird to be in your shoes. Like, I know what it's like to be confused and not have the answers and, not be able to argue against what somebody's saying. I know that side of it. But at the end of the day, I always know that I'm the good guy. That there is no arguing against what I'm saying, right? Like you couldn't go live and start talking about what you think and believe because you'd get destroyed. Right? I know that if I go live and I start saying these pretty controversial things, it won't matter. Nobody is smart enough to actually even come close to hanging in this conversation. We literally had somebody that identified as a priest the other day, and that man didn't know shit. He just made religious people look even worse. It was really interesting. It would really help people. Like, he's not 100% wrong. Not even sure what you're talking about. There's a fucking genocide taking place right now. And the crazy part is, it's even Christians. So as selfish and insane as Christians can be, they're not even standing up for their... If they were losing their fucking minds over it. But it's a bunch of brown people. And the reality is, actually, I don't think I know anybody. I don't think I've met anybody. I haven't met anybody who is pro-Israel. There's a lot of fake profiles that come through here and talk a bunch of shit, but that's Team Jorge. That's act.io. It's what they do, They've infiltrated social media. They own social media. Then Yahoo said the greatest threat is social media and they need to own it all and blah, blah, blah. This isn't me saying that shit. They said it. They said that this is the biggest threat to them is social media, is the Goyim communicating with each other. So they need to prevent that. So they need to buy everything up so they can prevent that from happening. Yes. Oh, I'm big time religious freak. Yeah, buddy. You know me, I love me some Jesus. So stupid. It's all written. Just read it. Shut up, Beverly. If it was written and you should just read it, what about 1 Timothy 2:12? Do you not like that verse so you don't pay attention to it? Men wrote the book. It's mythical in the science and library. Partially true, I guess. Oh, what you said. So, since I've asked you guys to like, share, and sub, now the feed has dropped down to one person, 8 likes, and 2,500 subscribers. If you can show me anyone else that has a similar situation, I'll believe it's normal. But it doesn't work this way. Jesus told us what was going to happen. No, he didn't. And so this is the part where Christians are just dumb, because you don't, like, do you not realize it's a Jewish fairy tale? Do you understand that it's written by Jews? The main character is a Jew. All of the main characters are Jews. It's all about Jewish life. It mentions the Gentiles a couple of times, but it mentions them like separate, like those Gentiles over there. Like it's not, where you get Christianity out of it is just kind of crazy. But like, I don't understand why you guys don't seem to see that, right? It literally, by telling us what's going to happen, the book presents the situation as they are way more important than anything else. And so for land to be taken, like, you know, they build the God phone, and God's like, okay, well, your name is now this, and everything you can see from here to there is yours. So then I guess this guy walked into the town and was like, hey, I talked to God, and he said this is all mine now. And everybody was like, oh, okay. Like, it's really a stupid story, but it's all about taking from us and giving to them. And if you see today as anything but taking from us and giving to them, yeah, I don't know what you're looking at. Oh, get a few logs, then try speaking about this to people in real life, right? Because you couldn't make a better comment. That's the only thing you could say. Gotcha. Oh, Jesus, the mega boogeyman, do this or go to hell. Exactly. It's insane. If anyone gives you the time of day, you might make a friend. Oh, look again. Is this Christians or friars? Which one is it? Palestine, blah, 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 dude, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 I have a religious experience, and blah, blah, blah. Yes, I do, for everything they blamed Christ for is still going on. What? What are you talking about? See, this is why it's so difficult to, like, communicate with Christians, because, again, they just don't know their so they say some shit they heard somebody else say, who heard somebody else, and it's all this really weird story that doesn't match the fucking story we're given. You know, Jesus walked around being like, I'm Jesus. My dad is in me. And if people didn't believe that, he got upset about it. Jesus is one of the most whiny characters in all of history. And it's all so stupid. Like, think about this. So, the famous story of Jesus made whole life, until I read it, I kind of like assumed it was like a televangelist sort of thing where there was a bunch of blind people and Jesus sort of waved his hand and made, you know, all the blind people see. When I read it, it was even dumber than that. So Jesus is walking around going from, like, I love how the Bible constantly talks about places that are like really far away from each other, and yet somehow people are just Godspeeding from text. But Jesus is in one of the temples and he's getting razzed, and they're like, you're not Jesus, you're not the Son of God. And he's like, I am the Son of God. You need to believe me. And everybody's like, well, Jesus, show him something. Dude, we've been following you and shit. You're making us look bad. Come on. So they're walking out front, and there's this guy, Old Blind Billy. Old Blind Billy sits there all the time. That's his little spot. He begs for money. And back then, if you were blind, then that was like you were a pariah. Like something was wrong with you. People didn't care and like be like, oh man, poor blind guy. They were like, ugh, you're blind. They're like, it's so funny how it's portrayed. And so Old Blind Billy is, 20s, 30s. He's been Old Blind Billy. Everybody in the town knows him. He sits there all the time asking for change. His family lives way on the outskirts of town because they're also shunned. For having a blind kid, they're like, oh, you need to live on the outskirts of town. So somehow Old Blind Billy makes his way back and forth, which doesn't get talked about. But it's the Bible and Godspeed, and people are always traversing in unbelievable ways. So Jesus walks out front, and he walks up to Old Blind Billy, and he spits into the desert sand and makes a paste. So just think about that. How much spit do you think Jesus had to come up with to turn desert sand into paste? If you've ever gone to the dunes or whatever and you've seen what desert sand is like, it just absorbs the water, slurps it right up. And it takes quite a bit of water to turn any sort of desert sand into paste. So Jesus must have been hawking some monster loogies to be able to form enough paste out of this desert sand that he could then wipe it in the eyes of Old Blind Billy, to which he then says, here's a bucket, rinse your... No, because that would be reasonable. No, he says, go to that river over yonder, not that close spot. Go to the river over there and wash your eyes out. So Old Blind Billy, God speeds his way to the river. I guess everybody just followed. Like, don't help him. Don't help him. Look at him stumble. Look at him stumble. The good thing, nobody's invented the white canes with the red tips on him yet. He's fucked. Oh, my God. Eventually, he gets to the water, wipes his fucking eyes, and he can suddenly see. Oh, and everybody's like, oh, Blind Billy can see. Oh, big celebration. Yay. And then one of the disciples is like, hey, something's bugging me, Jesus. Can I ask you a question? And Jesus is like, of course, my son. Verily, verily, you may ask me a question. And the guy's like, all right, JC. What did Old Blind Billy do? Or maybe, what did his parents do that was so fucking bad that they had this kid that was blind and this pariah that people would spit on, and, they had to live on the outskirts of town? And why? I mean, they've lived a really awful life. What the hell did they do to deserve such an awful life? And Jesus was like, verily, verily, I say unto you, verily, 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 my dad, God, by the way, I don't know if I've told you this or yet, but my dad is God. So he knew that one day I would need to perform this miracle. So it couldn't be like I just did some like parlor trick and had somebody in the crowd that just pretended to be blind. You guys had to know he was blind. So he had to have, everything had to work out. Basically, it worked out that his whole existence was so that today I could give him sight in front of everybody. Okay? Sound good? Okay. And that's it. That's this supposedly beautiful story. And I'm like, so this dude and his family had to suffer and be pariahs and all this shit so you could fucking prove this miracle at this exact time? Like, you couldn't have done anything that didn't involve somebody living a horrible life beforehand? You selfish prick. But that's the kind of shit that One of my favorite things to ask Christians, because this is one that always shuts down every conversation, right? There are plenty of times in the Bible where it's a conversation between two people. Like, you know, when Lot, Sodom and Gomorrah and Lot, when Lot's two virgin daughters, little teenage 12, 13, 14-year-old virgin daughters are in the cave with him, and they question, they don't even question, they denounce their own legitimacy and talk about how sad it is that they're, you know what? Let's talk about Lot real quick. We'll come back to this point. So, just after the Noah situation, and then the covenant with Abraham for circumcision situation, there's these two angels, and they're walking along just a singing a song, walking in a Hatton wonderland. Oh, Ricky Hatton. Oh, Ricky Hatton. I could never hear anyone else's name when those Brits sing that song nowadays. Walking in a Hatton wonderland. But they're walking along and they come across, I'm not even sure if it's Sodom or it's Gomorrah. They're both like these walled cities or some shit. I'm not really sure. They're like walled cities, but they're connected. Not really sure. Oh, let's get past that. I don't give a shit what anybody's saying here. They're walking along. Did you let the dog in? Thank you, sir. They're walking along. They come across Lot, this man named Lot, who is sitting like on the gates of the walled city or something. I don't know. He's like whittling. He's got a little piece of stick and he's sitting up against the fence post, and he's like, "Oh, howdy, partners." But he sees these two men. He doesn't know they're angels, but he sees these two men, and he runs up and he says, "Oi, you two men, you look like you're tired. Why don't you come stay at my house?" And they're like, "No, thank you, old weird man," because Lot's like 90. They're like, "No, thanks. We got to get someplace over yonder, so we're just going to keep walking." And Lot's like, "What, are you kidding me? It's nighttime. It's about to be nighttime. It's cold. It's dark. You get scared. Come in my house. I'll give you unleavened bread. We'll have a good time. Play some checkers." So they're like, "Okay, you're going to give us unleavened bread. We'll come check it out." So it's like the Autobot Decepticon logo. Right? So now they're in Lot's house. And somehow all of the men from the town are stricken with gay. But not gay like, let's all go out in the streets and start fucking each other gay. More, somehow they know there are these two dudes at Lot's house, so they're magically, almost like God was drawing them, first making them specifically homosexual for these two people only, and then somehow they know that those guys are at Lot's house. But all of the men of the town encircle Lot's house, and they're like, "Hey, Lot, send out those two guys you have in your house. We would like to know them." And Lot's like, "Oh my gosh, what do I do?" "No." And they're like, you better send them out here, because we are specifically gay for them right now. And Lot's like, why don't you fuck each other if you're gay now? And they're like, ew, no, that would be gay. That's gross. We're not gay like that. We're only specifically gay for those two strangers that showed up to your house, and we shouldn't even know how they're there, but we do. So Lot goes out front, and he's like, all right, listen, I know you're all gay. Now, for this, I got an idea. How about this? How about I have two virgin daughters, 12, 13, 14, whatever. We're talking about virgin girls who have not been sold off yet at the time. So they have to be very young. How about this? How about, yeah, you'll know, Tim, Tony, you're their betrothed husbands. I'm surprised you're here. Yeah, we are too, but we're super gay for those angels. Or those men that are in your house. And Lot's like, okay, fine. How about this? How about I give you guys my virgin daughters. You can do whatever you want to them. Just leave the guys in the house alone. Thankfully, the rape mob was like, no, we're specifically gay for those two guys. We don't want your gross virgin daughters. Well, those two might, but not right now. And so as they're like, we're coming to get you. As they go to get Lot, the door opens. An angel, one of the guys, grabs Lot and yanks him in the door. And then goes, dinkle, dinkle, dink. And suddenly everyone outside the door is blind. And even though they were right there, now they can't find the door. They're, oh my gosh, I'm blind now. I am still very much compelled to want to have sex with those two guys I shouldn't know are in there, but now that I am blind, I am helpless, and I cannot find the door. And then, it switches again. And it's now later. And apparently, everybody's not gay and blind anymore, and they went home. I don't know. But the two guys are like, all right, Lot, we're going to level with you. Because everybody in these two towns is so gay, God is going to destroy these two towns. And I'm sure Lot was like, they weren't gay before you guys showed up, and they sure didn't want to fuck each other, but okay, whatever. He's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And they're like, well, you need to get the fuck out of here. God's going to rain sulfur, fire, and brimstone down from the heavens because he loves you so much, you're just a little too gay. So Lot's like, well, I'm old. I'm very old. I'm 90 years old. My wife is old. We're very old. What are we going to do? We're old. We can't go very far. We're old. There's a little town. It's miles away, But can we go to that little town instead? And the angels are like, let me get out the cell phone. You guys know the bit. Get out the cell phone. Calls up God, who's at dinner. He's like, hey, God. Oh, fuck. What are you calling me for? Yeah, no, his house is beautiful. I'm here with Lot. We had that appointment today. I know the fucking gig. But, as a salesman, you have to do it. And he was saying, because he really tried to look out for us and offered to give his virgin daughters to the rape mob, he was wondering if it was okay if you didn't destroy the little town miles away from here. And God was like, what the fuck, Tony? This better not be some bullshit. He's going to sign up and everything, right? Oh, no, God, yeah, everything is great. He's really enthusiastic about the whole plan. He's just really old, and he just doesn't think he can travel very far. So he was just hoping. I know what he's hoping. Fucking hey, it better not be fucked up. If it's fucked up, it's your ass, Tony. You're fired if this doesn't go through. Okay, click. All right, God. Yeah, you're right. Okay. No, I will. You have a great night as well. Kiss the wife for me, okay? All right, goodbye. You know what, Lot? He never does this. He never does this. I wasn't even supposed to tell you about this, but because you helped us out, I told you. He's now saying, yeah, you can go to that house, but, you know, you have to be a loyal servant. You're going to be a loyal servant, right? Lot's like, oy vey, of course I am. I always have been. I offered you unleavened bread. What do you want from me? I tried to give up my daughters to the rape mob. I'm as loyal as I can be. And they're like, all right, cool. You, your daughters, you can even go get their betrothed husbands, and you can take them to this little town that apparently is like uninhabited. I don't even know. But you could take them to this town, and everything will be okay. So, Lot goes over to where Tim and Tony are. Crazy, I know they're both named Tony, but, you know, it is what it is. And he says, hey, guys, remember earlier today? And they were like, I know, right? We were like gay and blind for a little while. Wasn't that weird? And Lot was like, no, it wasn't weird. Those two guys that you were obsessed with having gay sex with for a little while, they were actually angels. And they're sent to destroy everything. And, you know, we got a free pass. And they actually, even though you were in the rape mob, they said I could bring you so you could help procreate with my daughters. And they were like, what? Angels? Shut up, old man. You're so goofy. Nah, we were just gay and blind for like an hour. What? That happens never, but it happens. So what? Come on, get out of here, old man. There's no angels coming to destroy anything. And Lot's like, okay, I tried to give you a chance, but you didn't want the chance. I took the chance. I gave you the chance. You didn't take the chance. I'm leaving. So Lot leaves, and then it turns again. And now it's morning. And the angels are like, oi, what are you doing? You need to get out of here. And Lot's like, I know, we need to get out of here. It's okay, I'm leaving. And the angels are like, all right, well, whatever you do, don't look back. If you look back, you're going to pizza when you're supposed to French fry. And if you pizza when you're supposed to French fry, you're going to have a bad time. And so now there you God's I guess, a 90-year-old man plus, 90-plus-year-old man, along with the mother and the two daughters. And I would just have to assume that the mother was walking ahead, because at some point she turns back to look, you know, because she's a dumb girl. Dumb goyle. Those dumb goyles, they never listen. She turned around, and she was turned into a pillar of salt. And the only way you could know that is if that happened in front of you, because if you turned to see the pillar of salt, you would in fact be turned into a pillar of salt as well. So, now it's just Lot and his two young virgin daughters that he tried to give to the rape mob. And they're in this little town. And Lot's like, you know something? I don't trust those angels. I think they're lying. I think they're going to destroy this town too. It just so happens that there's a cave way up there at the top of that mountain over there that I have stocked with all sorts of lox and bagels and all sorts of manischewitz that we could, like tons and tons of manischewitz. Just so much manischewitz that I could drink it and not know I ever had sex with my daughter. Let's go up to that little cave that I happen to have all set up for us. So then they Mario jump, boink, 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 up a mountain, and now they're in the cave. And now, this is where you have the two daughters having the conversation. And they're like, hey, number one sister. Yes, number two sister. Our dad sure is great, isn't he? Yeah, number two sister. The way he offered us to that rape mob to save those two guys, that was pretty noble of him. Yes, number one sister. I was thinking how shameful it is that he doesn't have a boy child to carry on his name. All he has is us piece of shit girls. And number one sister was like, I know, number two sister. I was thinking the same thing, but I have a plan. Really, number one sister, what is your plan? Well, number two sister, we have all this Manischewitz in here. Why don't we get father so drunk that this 90-year-old man can have sex with his daughters, and if he's so drunk, he won't remember it. And as long as he doesn't remember it because, he's a man, it's okay. Who cares if we remember it? We're dumb girls. But, if you get old men drunk, I mean, we all know how old men dicks work. Well, if you're a man, you fear old man dick because, according to all the stories, they don't work. And he's 90 plus years old, mind you. But I would assume, if you're a man, you've had whiskey dick before. You drank too much and your shit doesn't work. Apparently, if you get so drunk that you can, I can't even rape your daughters, even though it's willing, but it's still rape, and not remember it, I would imagine that's way past whiskey dick, but apparently not for a lot. And so the next day, number one sister's like, number two sister, guess what? What, number one sister? I'm pregnant, number two sister, and it's a boy. Because these virgins know the next day whether they're pregnant or not. Oh, great, number one sister, that's great. I know. So tonight, even though, father should be unbelievably hungover, we're going to get him super drunk again tonight. And this time, younger, number two sister, you will lay with father. Boom, they plan. Next day, number two sister says, number one sister, yes, number two sister, I am also pregnant, number one sister, and it's with a boy as well. Oh, joy, number two sister, that is fantastic. And they sip tea while they watch as Sodom and Gomorrah are smoldering, because now apparently you can do that. You can look now and not turn to a pillar of salt. And then their children don't come out all fucked up. Their children become the Ananites and the why can't I think of it? Lot's daughters, children. The first bore a son and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. The younger also bore a son and called his name Ben-Ami, and he is the father of the Ammonites to this day. So these are Jewish, right? But what's interesting, because you got to tie it all together, right? So the Nation of Islam was founded by a guy called Wallace Fard Muhammad, amongst other things, and whether or not he actually existed is pretty crazy. And this is one of my favorite things, actually. So let me show you guys something. So everybody knows who this piece of shit is, right? Look at that face. You know who that piece of shit is, right? Well, if we just go, pull up this guy, who does that look like? Right? They have a similar look to him, right? That guy is Wallace Fard Muhammad, the founder of the Black Muslims, the Nation of Islam, the big scary black people. And one of his one of the conspirator founders of this organization, supposedly, also pushed on the premise. So the main sort of thing in their beliefs is that, because they do believe in the Bible to a degree, but they believe that black people came from the Moabites. So, according to the narrative that the Nation of Islam was at least founded on, I don't know if they still teach it, black people are the result of a teenage girl, teenage daughter of a 90-something-year-old Jewish man having drunken relations. He was so drunk he couldn't remember it. Impregnated her with Moab, who became the father of the Moabites. That's where black people come from. Do you understand how fucking ridiculous that is? And for any black person to accept that as anything is such a traitorous, like, awful thing to think. I had another guy, I had a black guy who was a Jehovah's Witness who came knocking at the door. And he told me, when I asked him about the whole Noah's thing, because everybody loves to talk about Noah, but they only talk about how ridiculous the pre-story is. Nobody talks about what happened afterward, you know. Like, how long did it take? How long were the lions not able to hunt the antelope and shit until the antelope population recovered enough so that they could be hunted? And in that time, what were the lions eating? Were they still eating manna? Was manna still being given to them? And the lions that for generations at this point would have had to go up on manna, they would have been lazy as shit. How would they still know how to hunt after multiple generations of not hunting and having ass tar like resin like manna be the only thing that they somehow were eating? Like, where'd all the bugs come from? You know? How did all the populations recover enough to become a normal predator-prey cycle? And especially, how did Arabic people, well, not Arabic people, Jewish people, because I thought it was Arabic when I talked to the, oh, I wish I could talk to him again. When I talked to the Jehovah's Witness, I was under the impression that they were Arabic people because of, you know, where they're from. But according to the Bible, they're actually all Jewish people. So the result, and I said, you know, where did black people come from if you know, if they're all Arabic people having sex? And he said, well, you know what happens when relatives have sex? And I said, are you serious? Are you saying to me that you, a black man, believe that black people came from, are the offspring of what is now Jewish, but Arabic people having sex and being like, oops, we burnt a couple, and then sending them on a boat down to Africa where they somehow learned how to be Africans and have their own ancient traditions and all that shit? How did that even work out? But you're going to say that that's where you think black people came from? A black man? But that's basically what it always comes down to. Everything gets wiped out, and then Jews have sex with their own family members and repopulate the world. Like, it's just fucking insane. You're not supposed to analyze it. You're just supposed to have faith and believe it, LOL. Yeah, well, I don't know how anybody believes anything without analyzing it. Right? Like how does that even work? You know, you have these dumbass Trumpanzees on here. Take Greenland back, right? Like, obviously thinking isn't something they do. Analyzing isn't something they do. These are going to be your Christians. These are going to be your America First people who at the same time somehow are okay with, you know, a lot of our money and resources being stolen and given to Israel. What part of that is America First? And if you've been tricked into America First, like so many of the truthers that are allowed to have prominent feeds, the Ian Carrolls, the Nick Fuenteses, who has completely fallen off, and I told you he would. The Bella, whatever her name is, like Bella Margaret or whatever the fuck her name is. Just about any of the truthers out there that are allowed to have a big feed all tell you, you can't blame all of it. It's not the cult, it's the Zionists. That Jesus is the Savior. And, oh shit, I forgot. And, stall while hitting the ball because you forgot what you were saying. There's proof of the flood, just not as great as people think. There's evidence. You have no idea what you're talking about. The problem being, you are provided with proof that you just accept. And it's no different than Christians just accepting it. You're given a narrative. You go, you know what? I like this narrative. This one sounds good. I'm going to believe it. Even though it might contradict with something else you believe, you still believe what you want to believe. And that's literally all it ever comes down to. You believe what you want to believe. You are the person you want to be. Nobody's making you be a fucking dumbass Trumpanzee, racist, sexist, homophobic piece of shit who also apparently is a pedophile. And at this point, you know, Trump has about a 40% approval rating still somehow. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if 40% of the population is a pedophile. How else can you explain people overlooking him being a pedophile? Only pedophiles overlook that shit. Proof of mud flood, maybe? Maybe. But again, you've seen pictures. You've seen a lot of pictures that don't make no sense. You know, there's evidence of something. But at the end of the day, for us to sit here and fight about what it is foolish, because we only have the information they allow us to have. You know, even if you're the biggest conspiracy theory guy in the world, you're basically getting that information from somebody online. You're not finding it yourself. That's why it's so important to me to not go the conspiracy way and to read as much official information as I can and see how much that official narrative actually makes sense or not. You can find seashells in the middle of the desert in California. That sounds like proof to me. Proof of what? Prof, actually. That's proof that there are shells there. That's all. That's proof of something. But even something like, people love to talk about fossils and shit. The fossil record. If anybody wants to tell me what magical process turns organic matter to stone, I'd love to hear it. Like there are, you know, like the narrative with the petrified forest, right? They say that the petrified forest was created because there was an eruption, the trees fell down, the eruption covered the trees in ash and soot and all that other shit, layer and feet of it, and then over time, the minerals, the molecules of the minerals replaced the minerals of the organic matter with silica, and then eventually pushed that tree back up to the top. And now you have a petrified forest. And that's what they tell you. And funny, that doesn't happen anywhere else in the world but the one spot. But that's the answer. Oh, well, the dinosaur fell down into the water where it was immediately covered with some sort of debris that was never disturbed, and the organic matter was sealed in this tomb where over time it turned into stone. It turned into a fossil somehow it turned into stone and then was pushed back out. And the funniest thing is things like dinosaur bones and shit, basically up until like 1875, nobody had been finding them. And if they did, it was like, oh, well, I guess. Nobody thought, hey, these look like big monster bones. Nobody ever found any full fucking skeletons. Nothing like that. Apparently the earth hadn't started pushing all those bones out yet. But the process of turning organic matter, like, do you know what organic matter does when it dies? The second organic matter actually dies, the decay process starts on microscopic levels, and then eventually it gets bigger and bigger. But decay and death, you ever see an animal that you drive down a road that you drive down every day, you go to work, whatever. One day you notice there's a raccoon that got hit. Oh, poor raccoon. The next day it's still there. The next day it's hot. Raccoon's body swells up and it becomes this huge, beach ball, basketball type thing. And then the next day you drive by and it's completely flat. And it's because, our bodies swell with the gases and all this other shit. And then the orifices give. Once the orifices give way, then the body, liquefies and all this shit comes out of. It's disgusting. To think that, they just died in a way that all the little fine details get. No, something else happened. Do I know what it is? Can I give you that answer? No. But turning organic matter to stone isn't a thing. How come nobody ever finds any half fossils? How come nobody's ever found something that was halfway through the fossilization process? There was still a fucking dog leg sticking out that there was still some organic matter left over because the fossil hadn't formed. Where are there new fossils being formed? Where's all the new fossils? Where's all the thing that was found and it was like it had been in the fossilization process for the last few hundred years. So it wasn't even close to millions of years it takes to turn it. But it had started. Where's that shit at? Oh, they have. Yes, they have. Okay. Oh, okay. So stupid. There are no half fossils found. That shit would make the news. And how can you trust something that, like, up until, the Israeli crimes were getting so bad that they needed a distraction. So they said that there were, these columns were found beneath the Great Pyramids and shit that went way down thousands of meters, but they were perfect columns. It looked like some structure was there. And because, people are way more concerned about the Palestinians, it actually didn't stick like it should. But prior to that day, to that announcement, someone like me says, you guys know there's structure beneath the pyramids. The pyramids are just the top, and then below that, there's shit that goes thousands of meters down. You go, oh, whatever, conspiracy theorist. Whatever, stupid. Whatever. And it's like, it's so pathetic. It's so pathetic because you do that with everything. Until the system tells you it's okay to think a certain way, you won't think that way. Again, if something is found halfway through the fossil laser it looks like an empty mold, as the organic matter has faded away, with the calcium has yet to seep through the cracks into the rocks. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. That's not how it happens. I mean, I just don't know what to tell you. That's fucking silly. That's fucking silly. Oh, man. Look at this shit. Oh, look, we have somebody using schizophrenia. So you guys understand what that is, right? You guys understand that like mental illness is not a joke. It's interesting when you look at what we were presented by them, whether it was TV or like think about that cartoon Bats in the Belfry. You remember that one, Bats in the Belfry? So many of the cartoons were like that, but Bats in the Belfry, there's the two, or even think of Snow White, right? The little dopey dwarf who was clearly like retarded in some way, right? They used to love to present us with that. Look at the retarded guy. Look at the dumb, yeah, okay, boss. You know, they love doing that. They think mental illness is hilarious. You know, freak shows and shit like that. They did that. It wasn't until we started getting power and you know, that made things change. Just like with, you know, like people talk about Hollywood and they'll say, you know, Hollywood used to be racist. Well, Hollywood was never a person. Hollywood was a conglomerate solely created by and for Jews. Solely. So much so that they made a movie called Hollywoodism. And after I'm done, I'll put the links in the description. I can't put the description in before the video. It seems to fuck the video up. So after I'm done, if they allow me to, then I'll put the links to it. But all you have to do is search for it. It's all over YouTube. It's called Hollywoodism. It was made in 1998, I believe. And it's not a conspiracy theory movie. It's not, I didn't make it. Nobody like me made it. They made it. They made it as this flex. Like, look, somehow we created Hollywood. We ran it with an iron fist. And we still do. There's a quote from the movie that says, there's a woman who's one of the descendants who says, well, essentially you could say that the American dream is the Jewish dream. Because it talks about how they used Hollywood to create the world that we live in today. The belief structures, the you know, all of it was created through the manipulation of Hollywood. And it's right, they don't even hide it. It's right, you could see it on YouTube. Anybody can see it. I didn't make that fucking movie. There's no conspiracy theory behind it. But when you start to understand that process, that whole thing, you realize, like, what, you know, you can believe whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It's within the scope that they want you to believe it. Very little exists that isn't under their control. And it's interesting. And the thing is, if it wasn't something, you know, if it wasn't something really bad, if it was a good thing, if there weren't nefarious intentions behind everything, then they would brag about it. Why wouldn't you brag about it? That's something to brag about. 0.183% of the world's population controls everything. 2% of the US population controls everything. That's so impressive. It's $3 to watch it on your phone. That's weird. The information is there for you. You can choose to see it or believe it if you want to. But that's why, again, I always say, like, look at it for yourself and see if it makes sense. When you have the Israel Hayom Bottom of Darkness article, and at first, you realize, like, it's sort of outing this problem that the ritualistic sexual abuse of children is literally everywhere, and everyone knows about it. They just ignore it, or they take part in it. And you see that even the good guy side of things, like the article is supposed to be the good guys, and yet the article is saying things like, well, so many of the cases get closed fast because the police don't have the money and resources to investigate it. The Israeli police don't have the money? Are you fucking insane? And you see things like, saying things like the abusers make the abuse so bad that the parents don't believe the children when they tell them. And presenting that as a viable excuse for why this is happening. Anytime you hear arguments about metzitzia, they always say, yeah, because, there's been those times where those couple kids died because they got herpes from the guy, and it's dangerous and there could be diseases transmitted in the process. It's like, no. The bad part is the thing itself. It's fucking mutilation and molestation wrapped up into one. The herpes is a very, very small part of it. It's horrible, but it's a result of the initial problem. But the initial problem is hidden by the herpes. It's what they do. They present you with the lesser of two evils. Shireen Abu Akleh, she was the reporter that was killed by Israel in broad daylight out in the open, had a press shirt on, a press helmet on, was shot in the face, and then they shot all around her to keep people from helping her, and then they denied. First they blamed it on the Palestinians, then when they couldn't do that anymore, they finally accepted it, but they wouldn't give anybody, they wouldn't say who did it, and they wouldn't hold the guy responsible, and then finally this guy was, he did it, and he should be held responsible, but he died. He already died. He was one of the victims of the horrible Palestinian attack. Some shit. And so, nobody gets to be held responsible. Oh, well. And the thing is, she's killed. The next day, her brother is kidnapped and told that they're not allowed to do the standard thing when somebody of her position, because this woman was a 20-year vet, extremely well respected in all of the community and in the journalistic community. She was a Palestinian American citizen. She was an American citizen living over in Palestine trying to cover things. She was press, so she was completely off limits. She was a Christian, if that helps. But what the Christians do there is they have the funeral, and then they carry the casket from the funeral home to the cemetery, and they sing songs and they mourn their loved one. Well, Israel said that they weren't allowed to do that. The IDF kidnapped her brother, told him he wasn't allowed to do this, there'd be consequences, and let him go. Instead of being quiet, he ran to the media, told them what happened. And then the next day, they had the funeral anyway. And as they were going to start the procession, the IDF showed up and attacked them. They fucking attacked a goddamn funeral. Firing flashbangs and smoke bombs and showing up in full armor and beating the shit out of people. People holding the casket were hit so much that they dropped the casket. And it fell, but they caught it before it could hit. I wish it would have hit and her body would have fallen out, because that would have at least made the fucking news. And I know as a news person, she wishes that she would have wanted that to happen too, because this way it was still able to be covered up. And eventually they stopped it. They stopped the procession from happening. And when interviewed about it, they said that they would rather the world, they didn't want the world seeing the Palestinians marching in solidarity, holding flags and singing songs. That was an image they didn't want the world to see. So essentially, they would have rather had, instead of seeing that, they were much more comfortable showing us them attacking a fucking funeral. Nobody attacks funerals. You can't show me another example of a government agency attacking a fucking funeral. And yet, the whole thing was covered up by her murder. Her murder was the big story, and the funeral was never talked about. As bad as the murder is, the funeral was worse. It was a desecration. It was an insult on top of insult on top of insult. The ultimate disrespect. The ultimate slap in the face. So much so that, again, it's not something that happened, or that's happened. No, there's no examples of a government force attacking a funeral that's existed and is accepted anywhere except this. Crazy coincidental thing is, the day that she got shot, instead of Americans caring about an American female journalist, Christian, U.S. citizen being gunned down in broad daylight, and then again shot anytime somebody got near her, they shot the ground to make sure she couldn't get help for like 10 minutes. The day that happened was the day the obviously military operation where the guy shot up the grocery store. He killed like 12 black people. He shot like 3 or 4 people outside. Every shot he made was precise. This dude was well trained. This was not some goofus. And he actually filmed himself doing it. And every single shot, boom, killed somebody. He wasted nothing. He killed like 3, 4 people outside, made his way in, killed somebody, leaned up against the wall, reloaded, took a deep breath, came out from around the corner, saw a white guy on the floor, said, "Oh, sorry," turned and killed a few more black people. That happened that day. So everybody was nice and distracted that day. 2 days later, when the funeral got attacked, and we should all cared about that, that was when the weird shooting happened in Texas, where 19 kids and 2 teachers were in one classroom were killed. But for some reason, the parents all had to give DNA samples in order to get their kids back. And it lasted until like 3 in the morning. And it was all super suspicious. I mean, literally, there were only like, 25 kids in the class. That it was only one class under attack. So there literally should have been no reason to keep all of those other kids held hostage until their parents gave blood samples. That's just fucking weird. That should have been a huge fucking story, that part. But the only part that was the story was the shooting for a minute until people started catching on, and then they ran with something else. But to distract you from what actually happened, and this happens a lot, anytime there's something sort of strange or big that happens here, do yourself a favor and Google Israel and then click news and see what it says. See what's happening there. See what they're doing. The craziest part is, the most unbiased thing I can do is search Israel, Google, Israel in the Google machine, and then clicking sort by date. That's not any biased searching. If there's good stories about Israel, then they should show up. Funny thing is, they never do. They never actually do. I'm not sharing any secrets. Every single thing I'm saying is easily found. That's why I don't do the other thing. That's why I don't delve into conspiracy theories and all that other shit. Everything I talk about is so easily found. All you have to do is wiki it. And I know there are dumb people that'll say, "Oh, Wikipedia, you can't use Wikipedia, you can't use Wikipedia. I don't think everything on Wikipedia is true. I think Wikipedia is the truth that they want us to have. And speaking of which, Naftali Bennett, who is a former Israeli prime minister, but in 2010, when this was recorded, he was a future Israeli prime minister, has literally always been associated with IDF and high-ranking Mossad. He's a horrible, horrible person. Settler. This is him being interviewed by the IsraelNationalNews.com. Let's hear what he has to say.
Metzitzia, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to learn.
That 30 seconds is one of the most important 30 seconds ever recorded. And you can break it down literally, like, word for word. You can see what's actually happening here. Every time he says is important.
Metzitzia, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged
Okay. He says the name and he says has arranged so right off the bat he has to tell himself, don't say what you're thinking. Because there are points where he's fluid. He's saying it without struggling. But there are these little giveaways. Every time he says he's trying to find the right word. So, in this regard, listen, again.
Metzitzia, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for...
He's trying to think. Instead of saying, came to fucking tell Wikipedia that they're going to start doing things our way. Instead, has arranged an instruction day. Watch, again, keep watching. Watch how when he's deliberate, like it's rehearsed. You know what he's saying, and he's trying to be political. He's trying not to give away too much by saying, we came to Wikipedia, we didn't like what the fuck they were letting be posted about Israel. So now we're here and we're going to demand that they do things our way. No, he has to be political about it.
Wiki editors. The goal of the day is, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia.
Right? An instruction day for wiki editors. Why would Wikipedia, who is the #1 source of information in the world at the time, need some random Israeli group to come give them an instruction day for the editors? You guys think you're the editors. You guys think because they give you the illusion that anybody can edit Wikipedia, that anybody can edit Wikipedia. There are editors. You can suggest an edit. It will get sent to the editors, and then they will decide if that edit is made. They probably have a computer system at this point that does a basic scan, so if all the stupid shit doesn't get flagged, or else they'd be constantly checking for new things. But if the thing gets by, if the thing is flagged by the computer editor, the computer censor, then you have the editors that Israel is here giving an instruction day.
Which is the #1 source of information today.
An instruction day to teach the wiki editors how to do their job.
for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia.
That is the goal of the day is to demand that wiki editors do things our way, but he has to be political. So he says to teach these grown successful adults how to do their job at the number one source of information in the world.
Which is the number one source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be
No
We
ums.
want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
Okay, so that last bit he just goes because he's prepared to say that. He has that Gaza flotilla thing already in his head. He's going to use that as an example, which is just a horrendous story in itself. But he goes right off the hip, and we're here to teach the wiki editors how to do their job. For example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced. And one last time he goes, he thinks, am I going to say balanced and paints Israel fairly? That puts Israel in a fair light, puts Judaism in a fair light, paints everything fairly for everyone. No, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to say it. That's balanced and Zionist in nature. He acknowledges that they control Wikipedia and make sure that everything that's coming out of there is balanced and Zionist in nature. Understand that. That's not fair. He doesn't want things to be fair. He wants things to be their way. Zionism is this is according to Wikipedia. According to Wikipedia, on a page that can't be edited, see how the edit feature is locked? That means you can't edit it. Zionism is an ethno-cultural nationalist movement that emerged in the late 19th century Europe. It primarily seeks to establish and support a Jewish homeland through the colonization of Palestine, which roughly corresponds to the land of Israel and Judaism, itself central to friar history. Zionists want to create a friar state in Palestine with as much land, as many friars, and as few Palestinian Arabs as possible. That is what the official Wikipedia balanced and Zionist version, like you would think if there's anything that they have their hands in, it definitely has to do with stuff involving them, especially the pages that are completely locked. Don't you think that's really strange? Don't you think that's really strange? Why should anybody support that? Why shouldn't it just be that we're all equal? That we all deserve life, liberty, happiness, love, safety, warmth, all those good things. You think that you want to live in this place is paradise. In your head, you think Palestine is like some desert, nothing, shit, piece of shit place, awful. It's paradise. The temperature is beautiful, they have, especially along the beaches and shit, like it's beautiful there. It's prime real estate. It's really sad what's happening. And it's happening because of supremacy. Just so you guys see it for what it is. Semitism. Oh, what the fuck? Semitism definition. Merriam-Webster. Semitism.
Semitism. Semitism.
No trickery. No fucking around.
Semitism.
Number 1A, Semitic character qualities. Number 1B, a characteristic feature of a Semitic language occurring in another language. Number 2, policy or predisposition favorable to them. You see that? Now, just so you know what policy means. Predisposition. A predisposition is a natural tendency, inclination, or increased likelihood to develop a particular trait, behavior, or condition, often resulting from a combination of genetic and environmental factors without guaranteeing the outcome. On a genetic, environmental level, predisposition, if your mother's family all has cancer, you have a predisposition to having cancer. It's beyond your control. It's wired into your framework. The rules and regulations, the policy, and the DNA framework is favorable to anyone? To anyone? Why should anyone be in that position? We're better than this, you guys. 6 viewers, 15 likes, 2,500 subscribers. That makes sense, doesn't it? Like, share, and sub. Make sure you like, share, and sub. Make sure you check out the Facebook page. There will be links at the very bottom of the description. The most important links. The first link is the music. Go get it. www.the-bilderberg, BILDERBERG-group.com. It's the first link in the description. It's free. You click download. It'll ask you how much you want to pay. You say 0 and it's free. Okay? All we ever ask is that you share it with just one person. Share it with other people, but we only ask that one. Hopefully you like it enough to share it with other people. But you know what? As a matter of fact, just because I'm feeling like that, before I go, we're going to go ahead and play the very newest song we have, which is really dedicated to all you religious folk out there. I know how much you like to be, you like faith. You have faith, and this is a song about faith. If you can prove God isn't working through me, then I'll believe it's real. From my woolly hair and big bronzy feet to my hatred of Israel. If you can pass over my meal, denying my confirmation, I swear to God I will repeal my devilish condemnation. Just look at my beautiful face and tell me I'm not heaven sent. And me not believing in spaceman fits in with the firmament tent. You deny since you are hell-bent on insisting that Earth is a globe. And like giving up breathing for Lent, well, I hope this makes your head explode. Prove God's not a TBG fan. Prove it doesn't want you sharing this song. Prove that Guy Williams isn't the man that your God's using to prove you wrong. Prove the fit hitting the sham doesn't prove that your God is pissed. If you can prove I'm not God's plan, then I'll say that's proof it exists. What proof do you have God doesn't hate all religion? Telling you you're born bad and that you need to be forgiven by those who think circumcision keeps God from destroying the earth. Constantly caught raping children, you let them tell you your worth. But how can you be sure that your God's a big fan of Israel's psychotic work or America bombing Japan? Does your God hate Iran? And how do you know? Can you prove that God's plan's not the TBG show? Prove God's not a TBG doesn't want you sharing this song. Prove that Guy Williams isn't the man that your God's using to prove you wrong. Prove the fit hitting the shan doesn't prove that your God is pissed. If you can prove I'm not your God's plan, then I'll say that's proof it exists. Catholics, Christians, Jews, and Scientologists, all the African nonsense you don't know exists. All the focus this system demands. Horse-sized locusts with the face of a man. Can you prove that the hand of God isn't writing these lyrics commanding the thunder and lightning you're finding so frightening you're cursing and mad? For enlightening you on sky dad. Prove God's not a TBG fan. Prove it doesn't want you sharing this song. Prove that Guy Williams isn't the man that your God's using to prove you wrong. Prove the fit hitting the shan doesn't prove that your God is pissed. If you can prove I'm not your God's plan, then I'll say that's proof it exists. Guy, son of Guy, born Christmas Day, to parents born on the same day, same year, summer solstice, the cusp between Gemini and Cancer, meaning 6 astrological signs came together to make Guy, son of Guy, and Mary, daughter of Joseph and Margaret Magdalena, again, born on Christmas Day, you know, just like your good book says. TBG. Go get your free download. www.the-bildberg.group.com. Go watch Hollywoodism. That's the second link you'll find. Go read the Israel Hail and Bottom Darkness article. That's the third link you'll find. And then there's a bunch of other receipts and links to the Facebook page. You should like, share, and sub. Just like you should like, share, and sub this. Have yourself a great day. And you pedophiles, you kill yourself.